He brewed the coffee the way he liked it and watched her smile at a screen that didn't have his face on it. Some heartbreaks start quietly, over coffee. The house woke with the sound of the grinder. Caleb measured by habit, 2 scoops, 1 level, 1 heaped, a concession to the way mornings stretch when you're expected to celebrate yourself. He liked the part before anyone spoke, when steam from the kettle lifted like something leaving. Iris sat at the island, robe loose, hair gathered carelessly. The phone lit her cheekbones. Thumbs moved. The soft, breathy laugh she gave to the screen wasn't meant for him. "Morning," he said. She kept her gaze on the phone. "Big day," she replied. "Don't be moody." He poured, handed her a mug with the handle turned perfectly toward her. She took it without looking. A vibration rattled the quartz. Another. Group chat urgency, the flutter of people arranging things for themselves and calling it kindness. "You're up early," she said finally, still reading. "Birthday habit," he said. "Beat the noise." She smirked. "You're so serious. Even about coffee." He smiled like he'd been practicing restraint all year. "Someone has to be." She set the phone down face up. The screen was crowded with balloons and exclamation marks. "Dinner at 8. He'll love it. Make him loosen up tonight, LOL. We'll get him to smile for once." The names at the top were her friends, not his. "I told them to keep it simple," she said. "Nothing big. Just a private room. You'll be fine." "I said I didn't want a thing," he said. "You always say that," she said, lifting her mug. "You're predictable." He shook 2 aspirin into his palm and swallowed them dry. "Predictable keeps the lights on." She rolled her eyes. "God, Caleb, it's your birthday, not a board meeting." He didn't argue. Arguing in the morning is like drinking before noon. It stains the rest of the day. He rinsed the spoon and set it to dry. The ritual calmed him, the small correctness of putting objects where they belong. That's how you hold a line when everything else wants to drift. The back door glass had a fogged oval where his breath had warmed it. Outside, the yard was clean, the maple leaves late and stubborn. A neighbor walked a dog with a sweater. November pretending to be gentle. He watched Iris take a photo of her mug, angle again. Type, delete, type. He knew the caption would be something bright and vague. He also knew the picture would make other people feel like they were in their own kitchens with their own good mornings. That's what she was good at. Making a window out of anything and keeping herself on the sunny side. "What are you thinking?" she asked, finally curious. "That we don't need a room full of people who like you," he said. "It's a Tuesday. We could stay in." She laughed, then practiced the high note of someone performing easygoing. "You'll survive 2 hours. Smile. Tell a story. Let people love you." "They don't love me," he said. "They love your stories about me." She tilted her head, the way she did when she thought he was being dramatic. "You're too quiet. People are filled with jokes. It's how it goes." "That's the problem," he said. "They think it's empty space. It isn't." Another chime. She glanced and grinned, conspiratorial and childish all at once. "They found the perfect cake," she said. "Don't be a grump." He thought of his mother's pecan pie cooling on a rack when he was 8, the way the house smelled like the kind of love you don't post. He thought of his son's laugh from last weekend, a clean sound that didn't ask anyone to clap. "Wear the navy," she said, standing. "The gray makes you look like a storm cloud." "Storms are honest," he said. She kissed his cheek, quick and distracted, lips tasting like coffee and impatience. "Try not to be heavy tonight," she said. "It's a celebration." He nodded. "Sure." She patted down the hall, phone to ear now, voice sweetening for someone else. He stood in the doorway and listened. "Yeah, private room," she whispered. "I know he's intense, but we'll loosen him up. He needs it. He's too, you know." A silence while the other person talked. Then Iris's laugh, edged and eager. "He'll deal. He always does." He set his mug in the sink. The sound it made was a small ceramic truth. Caleb wasn't dramatic. He just counted things. He counted the times she'd said too before a word that used to be a compliment. Too serious, too quiet, too focused. He counted the way plans were decided with enthusiastic consensus and presented to him as favors. He counted the seconds it took her to respond to friends and the ones she took to respond to him. Numbers tell a story if you let them. He pulled his wallet, checked the card he never used, credit for emergencies he defined narrowly. A different kind of counting, what you keep in reserve to remind yourself you're not trapped. Iris reappeared dressed in athletic leggings and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm running to the florist," she said. "Don't overthink tonight." "I won't," he said. "Promise?" she teased. "No," he said, and it came out calm. "I don't make promises for other people's parties." She paused like she'd heard something under the words but didn't want to look for it. "You're predictable," she repeated, as if repeating made it true. "Reliable," he said. She shrugged, kissed the air, and left. The door closed and the house exhaled. He stood for a long minute, hearing the refrigerator hum, the heater tick, the ordinary machinery that never needs an audience. He washed the 2 mugs, dried them, put them in their places. He should have felt grateful, health, roof, work, a day with his name on it. Instead there was that thin filament of unease, strung from the morning to the night like a tripwire only he could feel. He didn't know what it would pull down. He only knew it was there. He reached for the notepad on the counter and wrote a grocery item he didn't need, testing the pen. Then beneath it he wrote a single word. Tonight. He circled it once, not hard enough to tear the paper. The kettle had cooled. He reheated it and made another cup, more out of duty than want. Outside, the neighbor waved. Caleb lifted a hand and let it fall. He wasn't angry. Not yet. Anger is loud. He kept the morning quiet and let it do its work. By noon the house would look like a place 2 people were happy in. By 8 it would host a celebration someone swore was for him. Right now it was honest. Steam fading, counter clean. A man spending his birthday capital carefully. He finished the coffee and set the day to start. He didn't know how far her need to be adored would go by nightfall. He only knew he'd see it clearly when it arrived. The restaurant smelled of cedar smoke and steak grease. Expensive, overlit, and full of people who spoke louder after wine. Iris had planned it all. The private room, the curated playlist, the table too long for conversation. Her friends filled the air easily, chattering, posting, tagging. They were loud in the way people get when they need proof of their own happiness. Caleb sat at the head because the waiter assumed it, not because Iris had. He thanked the man, ordered a neat bourbon, and looked at the menu without reading. Across from him, Iris was mid-story, eyes bright, hands alive. She told the story about the time he forgot their anniversary, the one she's told before, edited for laughs. The table leaned in, waiting for the punchline like addicts. She gave it. They laughed. Caleb didn't. "Come on," said one of her friends, a brunette named Nina, lifting her glass. "It's funny now, right, Caleb?" "It was then, too," he said evenly. "Just not in the way you think." They laughed again. Not at the words, but at the tone. The group laughter of people who sense danger and smother it with volume. Iris reached for his arm. "Don't be so serious. They're teasing." He gave a small nod, eyes on his drink. "So am I." The meal moved forward. Wine flowed faster than time. Stories blurred, college days, couples' vacations, filtered pictures, mild scandals turned into entertainment. Caleb smiled when he should, spoke when necessary. He was gracious, polite, and invisible. Then came the turn. Nina, drunk enough to forget she was small, leaned over her glass. "Iris says you're like stoic in every way, even in bed. Is that true?" The table froze for a heartbeat, then broke open in laughter. Iris laughed too. The sound sharp, almost nervous, but not nervous enough to stop. Caleb looked at her. She met his eyes, still laughing, cheeks flushed with wine and attention. "Oh, come on," she said between giggles. "They're just kidding." He didn't answer. He looked down, turning the glass slowly by the rim, the bourbon catching light. Then he smiled, not wide but clean. "You done?" he asked. The laughter faded, unsure whether to stop or double down. Iris blinked. "What?" He stood slowly, chair legs dragging a sound across the wood that cut the air cleaner than any word. "Dinner's over," he said. "Caleb?" Iris started, voice rising. He looked around the table, each of them frozen halfway between guilt and entertainment. "You came to laugh. You did. You're done here." Someone chuckled nervously. "Man, it's just a joke." He turned his head toward the voice. "Not anymore." That silence, that full, uncomfortable silence, landed heavier than any argument. Caleb reached for his jacket, buttoned it with calm precision. His movements said more than anger ever could. "I paid the bill earlier," he said. "Enjoy the rest of your night somewhere else." Iris's hand trembled as she reached for him. "You're overreacting." He met her eyes, steady. "You're underthinking." She tried to laugh again, but her throat caught halfway. The others started gathering their things, muttering awkward goodbyes. One by one, they slipped out, dragging their laughter with them like guilty children leaving a mess behind. When the door finally closed, only Iris and Caleb remained. The empty table gleamed under the soft light, half-finished glasses reflecting something brittle. Iris broke first. "You embarrassed me." He looked at her like she'd spoken in another language. "You humiliated yourself." I just stopped the applause. She crossed her arms, eyes glassy. "It was supposed to be fun." "It was," he said. "For everyone but me." The waiter returned quietly to clear the plates, eyes down. Caleb slid a few bills on the tray, too much, but exact in its message. "We're done here." He turned to Iris once more. "You wanted attention," he said. "Now you have it." She opened her mouth, but he was already walking out. No raised voice, no slammed door, just the quiet authority of a man who's done being someone's set-up line. Outside, the night air bit at his skin. He loosened his collar and took a long breath. Across the street, laughter spilled from another restaurant, harmless, detached, the kind that stays inside walls. He wasn't. He looked at his reflection in the window glass. Calm, controlled. A man who'd finally decided where his dignity ends. Behind him, the door opened. He didn't turn. "Caleb?" Iris called softly, almost pleading. "Please, don't make this a thing." He exhaled once. "You already did." Then he walked toward the parking lot, each step measured. The sound of his shoes on concrete was steady, final, deliberate, like punctuation on a sentence he'd waited years to finish. Inside, laughter was gone. What stayed was the echo, the sound that begins when respect ends. The living room was still. 3 boxes by the door. Shoes, sweaters, framed smiles from better years. Caleb had packed them himself, not in anger but order. He'd folded the clothes, taped the lids, and written her name with the same steady hand he used for his ledgers. The garage light was on. He sat at the kitchen table, notebook open, pen aligned to the margin. When Iris walked in, perfume first, he didn't look up. "What the hell is this?" she asked, voice tight. "Your things," he said. "The ones you said you didn't need me to carry." She stared at the boxes, then at him. "You're being ridiculous." He nodded once, still writing. "Probably." She set her purse down hard. "Caleb, it was a joke. You can't actually be mad about that." He lifted his eyes finally. Calm. Detached. "Mad? No." "Then what's this?" She gestured at the boxes. "Drama." "This is clarity," he said. "You turned me into a punchline." She scoffed. "Oh, come on." They were teasing. "Everyone laughs at everyone." "Not like that. You're overreacting." He closed the notebook gently. "That's what people say when they don't understand restraint." She paced. "You embarrassed me in front of my friends." He almost smiled at that. "You embarrassed yourself in front of mine." "Yours?" she snapped. "They were my friends." He stood then, not fast, not threatening, just tall, collected. "Exactly." She froze, mouth partway open, the weight of that word sinking in. He walked past her to the counter, rinsed his cup, and set it to dry. The movements were precise, almost surgical. Every small sound echoed too loudly in the quiet house. "Where's Liam?" she asked suddenly, softer. "At my mother's," he said. "Sleep over." Because of this? No, he said. Because he doesn't need to see me stop talking to you. Her jaw clenched. You're making it bigger than it is. It's already big, he said. You just don't see size until it hits your reflection. She grabbed one of the boxes, ripping the tape open. You think packing my things scares me? You're not leaving. He leaned against the counter, arms folded. Not yet. Then what? She demanded. What's this act? He looked at her, eyes steady, voice low. Documentation. What? I'm writing things down, he said simply. Dates. Words. The moments you laughed and called it love. Her breath hitched, part rage, part confusion. You're insane. No, he said. Just improvising. He sat back down, opened the notebook again, and wrote a line while she watched. The sound of pen on paper was surgical, soft, final. 11:43 p.m. Denial stage. She shook her head. You can't live like this. I won't, he said. That's the point. She moved closer, voice cracking with urgency now. You think you're proving something? You think this makes you strong? He looked up at her. No, it makes me free. For a second, her face softened. Caleb. He stood again, picked up the notebook, and closed it. The guest room's clean. The sheets are fresh. You'll stay there tonight. You're not serious. I'm calm, he said. That's worse. She stared at him, waiting for some kind of fight, the familiar rise of voice, the breaking point that means love still has heat. But he didn't give her that. He turned off the kitchen light and started walking upstairs. Caleb? She called after him, the edge of panic slipping in. Say something. He paused at the first step. I already did. You just laughed. He left her there, standing in the dark kitchen with her open box and the smell of tape and cold coffee. Upstairs, he sat at his desk and began a list. Not of grievances, but of facts. Times, words, places. He wrote like a man cataloging evidence, not emotion. When the list was full, he dated the page. November 3rd, beginning. In the guest room below, Iris moved restlessly, her whispers half apologies, half denial. The house carried every sound. The soft creak of the bed, the muffled sob she thought he couldn't hear. Caleb wrote through it all. Each note was a nail in a wall that would soon divide their lives cleanly. When he finally stopped, he closed the notebook and rested his hand on the cover. Not to hold it down, just to feel its weight. The record of what happens when laughter crosses the line. He didn't hate her. Hate was energy, and he needed none of it. He needed only distance. He looked toward the hallway, where her light glowed faintly beneath the door, and said quietly to the dark, "This is how men leave." Then he turned off the lamp. When Caleb got up, the house was silent. The early light cut through the blinds in sharp strips. He walked to his desk, the day untouched, and opened his laptop. A push notification animation bloomed on the screen. A short video. It was from dinner. His wife's friend Nina had posted it. The part where Iris, laughing out loud, said his bedroom life was cute but serious. The caption mocked him. When he's quiet in bed and serious all day, #birthday fun. He watched the clip once. The laughter, the taglines, the comments rolling in. Poor guy. Get a sense of humor. Serious man syndrome. He leaned back, gaze steady. He closed the laptop. He didn't shout. Something colder than rage slid into the room. He picked up his phone and opened the bank app. He opened the shared drive. He typed a new heading in his notebook, process. Then viral clip list, screenshot archive, effect on Liam, law consultation 10:15 a.m. days tasks underlined. Iris came down later. She had changed, the bag under her eyes wider. Have you seen anything? She asked, voice light like a spring gun. He turned. Yes. Her smile flickered. It's nothing, just a dumb joke. He stood. The notebook was in his hand. He placed it on the table, open at the page. November 5th, humiliation outside walls. Context doesn't change humiliation, he said. He kept his tone flat. Severe but not loud. She froze. Caleb. He held out his phone, opened the post again, scrolled slowly. "This is your performance," he said. "You made me the punchline, and you filmed it." His voice stayed low. "I'm done being implicit." She swallowed. "It's just social media." He nodded. "And social media lasts forever." He pointed at the screen. "You posted me. I'll post the records. And the audience already knows." She glanced away, guilt flickering. "You're overreacting." He closed the notebook quietly. "I'm reacting. On record." Outside the window the sun rose brighter. The yard looked the same, but the house had already changed. He walked to the window and touched the glass. "I wanted peace," he said. "But this is war." Maybe she thought he'd yell. Maybe she expected begging or tears. Instead he turned and walked away, leaving her in the slump of the living room, the phone still buzzing, laughter still echoing somewhere outside the frame of the clip. When he left the house that morning, he locked the door behind him. He didn't check the locks. He didn't turn back. He made the car start, drove away. The video stayed online. She would delete it, but the screenshots, they were already saved. And so was he. By the third morning, the house was quiet in a way that didn't sound peaceful anymore. It was procedural. A machine humming after its operator had already left in his mind. Caleb moved through the rooms like an auditor, noting details that once meant comfort. Her slippers under the couch, her perfume ghosting through the hallway, the wedding photo turned slightly toward the wall. Iris sat at the kitchen counter, scrolling again. Her face had the fixed look of someone trying to stay composed for an invisible audience. "People think you're mad," she said, not looking up. "I'm not mad," he replied. "I'm organized." He was sorting mail into piles. Joint, separate, pending. Every page, every line mattered now. The sound of envelopes sliding against each other was steady, clinical. She laughed, brittle. "You're really doing this? Acting like we're some court case." He looked up. "We are." Her phone buzzed. She smiled faintly at the screen. A filtered photo. Last night's wine glass. Captioned, "Some storms are worth the view. I like climbing fast." Caleb saw it reflected in the steel kettle behind her. "You cared more about their laughter than my dignity," he said. She exhaled sharply. "Oh, please. You're still on that." "You played the audience," he said, voice flat. "I lived the scene." She slammed her phone down. "You can't just rewrite what happened." "I don't need to rewrite," he said, opening another drawer. "I recorded." He laid 3 folders on the table. The labels were neat, printed on clean white strips. Household, property, custody. Her eyes stopped on the last one. The color left her face. "What is this?" "Order," he said. "You're bluffing," she said, voice small. He shook his head. "I don't bluff. I plan." He flipped open the property file. Inside were photocopies. Deed, appraisal, utility breakdowns, signed checks. Each line underlined once. He didn't look at her while speaking. "You told me once control was boring. Turns out it's survival." She reached across the table. "We can fix this." He moved the folders just out of reach. "No, you can post about fixing this. I'm already done." Her hand fell away. The silence was thick, close, like air before lightning. "You can't take Liam from me," she said finally, voice cracking. "I'm not taking him," Caleb said. "I'm protecting him." "From what?" "Noise." He gathered the folders into his arm, walked to his desk, and set them beside his notebook. On the cover, one word was written in bold pen. Process. Iris stood there, stunned, as if the distance between them was suddenly visible, measured, labeled, filed. She picked up her phone again, desperate to reach for the one place she still had power. But when she looked at her reflection on the black screen, her hands were shaking too much to type. Caleb spoke without turning around. "You can post anything you want," he said. "Just remember, I document faster than you delete." Then he sat down, opened the custody folder, and started writing. The house hummed quietly, the sound of a man dismantling his marriage with the precision of someone who no longer needs to explain why. The doorbell rang just after 9. Iris had been on the couch since dawn, staring at her phone, watching comments thin out beneath old posts. The silence online felt heavier than insults. It meant people had moved on. She opened the door expecting another delivery, maybe Caleb's things being sent back piece by piece. Instead, Evelyn Delane stood there. Simple coat, gloves, purse over one arm, composed in the way only women raised by harder times ever are. "Evelyn," Iris said, caught off guard. I wasn't expecting." "No," Evelyn said, stepping inside without invitation. "You weren't." Iris tried to straighten her robe. "He's not here." "I know." Evelyn's tone was flat, factual. "That's why I am." They stood in the living room. The boxes were still by the wall, open now, half unpacked, as if denial itself had been interrupted mid-motion. Evelyn's gaze swept the room. "He built this house," she said quietly. "Every line, every choice, every brick was his plan. I remember him showing me the floor plans, proud as a boy with a drawing." Iris folded her arms. "I made it a home." "You made it a stage," Evelyn said. "You just didn't realize the audience changed." "That's not fair," Iris said, the reflex sharp, defensive. "You don't know what happened." Evelyn looked at her with the calm of someone who already did. "I know my son. He doesn't react, he records. When you laughed at him, he started writing. When you went online, he started filing. You turned it into performance. He turned it into a process." Iris's voice trembled. "He's not talking to me." "He doesn't need to," Evelyn said. "Silence means he's already made the decision." "That's not him," Iris said quickly. "He's quiet, but he's not cold like this." Evelyn's eyes softened, but her tone didn't. "He gave you warmth for years. You kept testing its temperature." Tears pooled but didn't fall. "I didn't mean, I just wanted adoration," Evelyn said. "The applause you thought you earned. You took it from people who never meant you well." Iris sat down slowly, voice breaking. "I just thought he'd laugh. Just once." Evelyn took off her gloves. "My son doesn't laugh at himself. He lives with himself. That's rarer. You should have known what kind of man you married." The clock ticked, long, clean seconds between every truth. "I can fix it," Iris said finally, her voice small, desperate. "No," Evelyn said. "You can't." "Maybe if I just—" Evelyn raised a hand. "If you need to reach him," she said, "call his lawyer." The sentence landed like the end of a song no one wanted to finish. Iris blinked, stunned. "He already?" Evelyn nodded once. "The process began Monday." "He's not angry, Iris. He's certain." Iris buried her face in her hands. "Does he hate me?" Evelyn looked toward the boxes. "No. Hate takes effort. He's saving his for Liam." She reached into her purse, placed a sealed envelope on the table. "You'll find everything you need in there. Contacts, timelines, procedures. My son doesn't make a mess." Iris looked up, tear-streaked. "You came here to hurt me?" Evelyn shook her head slowly. "No. To confirm what you already know." She turned toward the door, pausing just once. "You humiliated a man who valued peace. Now he's giving you silence. It's heavier, isn't it?" When the door closed, the sound echoed through the empty house like judgment. Iris stared at the envelope for a long time before opening it. Inside, a single business card. Family Law, Delane and Associates. Below it, in Caleb's handwriting, process continued. That night she drank until her reflection blurred, scrolling through old photos, smiles, vacations, filtered laughter. Every image looked staged now. Every memory had a laugh track underneath it. And somewhere between guilt and disbelief, she realized the truth Evelyn had already spoken. The war was over. She just hadn't noticed the silence meant defeat. The sound of the door closing echoed longer than it should have. Iris stood in the foyer, envelope in hand, her pulse quickening at the weightless feel of it. No signature, no seal, no explanation. Just that single centered word. Wait. She tore it open expecting more. Some note of reconciliation, a threat, anything. But there was nothing else. Just silence in print. She called him immediately, He answered on the second ring, voice steady. Caleb, what is this? An instruction, he said. This isn't funny. It's not a joke. Then what the hell does it mean? It means exactly what it says, he replied. Wait. His tone was flat, detached. The kind of calm that makes you realize the conversation's already over. Wait for what? She asked. For the process to finish. Then the line went dead. She tried calling again, voicemail. Texted, no reply. Every minute stretched, every silence louder. She began pacing the house, checking his office, opening drawers. Everything looked staged, minimal, neat, clinical. The notebooks were gone. The folders too. Even his pen drawer was empty. By the second day, panic started to bloom beneath the denial. She tried to post something. An old photo of them smiling at a wedding, captioned, "Every storm clears." It got a few likes, enough to make her feel visible again. Then, an hour later, Caleb posted. Not words, not a caption, just a screenshot. A digital calendar entry. Court date, 10:15 a.m. No hashtags, no explanation. The image spread faster than her photo ever did. People screenshotted it, commented quietly. The same audience that once laughed with her now whispered without tagging. She tried deleting her post, but the damage was already done. Again. By nightfall, she called his mother, but Evelyn didn't answer. The message Iris left was messy, tearful. Tell him I understand now. Tell him to call me. No response came. She went back to the envelope, smoothing the word with her fingertips, tracing it like a wound. Wait, she whispered it out loud, as if it might soften the edges. Wait for what? She said to the empty house, but the walls gave her nothing back. On the third day, a knock came, same courier, same calm tone. Mrs. Delane? She nodded numbly. He handed her a single-page notice and left before she could ask anything. At the top, notice of hearing. Below, petition for dissolution of marriage. Filed by Caleb M. Delane. The date matched the calendar post exactly. 10:15 a.m. Her knees buckled, and she sat on the cold tile, the papers shaking in her hands. She realized then what the envelope had meant. Wait, it wasn't a warning. It was a countdown, and the clock was already running. The knock wasn't loud. Just 3 measured taps like the start of something official. Iris opened the door half expecting another courier. But it was Caleb. He stood there with a lawyer beside him, both in dark coats, both dry despite the drizzle. In his hands, a manila envelope, thicker than the last one. Her voice cracked. Caleb. He handed it to her. Petition for dissolution of marriage. She didn't take it at first. You're actually doing this? He looked past her into the house, not unkindly, but as if checking inventory before departure. It's already done. She laughed, half crying. You can't just, after everything, you can't end it like this. He met her eyes. It stopped being a mistake when you laughed twice. The lawyer spoke quietly. You'll find the schedule and terms inside, Mrs. Delane. She barely heard him. Her focus was on Caleb, standing solid, unreadable. I said I'm sorry, she whispered. He nodded once. I know. Then why won't you just talk to me? Because talking is what you used to hide behind, he said. This isn't that. Rain hit the porch rail softly. The street was empty. The night had no witnesses. She stepped closer, voice trembling. You still love me. He didn't flinch. Love doesn't survive mockery. It turns into memory. Tears started down her face. Please, Caleb. For Liam. He interrupted gently. Liam deserves quiet. The words hit harder than any accusation. She covered her mouth, shaking. He'll hate you for this. No, Caleb said. He'll understand later. He turned to the lawyer. We're done. The man nodded, handed Iris a pen for receipt. She signed automatically, her signature a smear from shaking hands. When she looked up again, Caleb was already stepping off the porch. Caleb! She called after him, voice breaking. Is this really it? He paused by the car, rain glinting on his collar. He didn't turn fully, just spoke over his shoulder. You wanted a reaction. This is one, just slower. Then he opened the door, got in, and closed it. The sound was final, like a safe locking. The taillights glowed red as the car rolled away, shrinking into the darkness until nothing but rain remained. Iris stood barefoot in the doorway, papers clutched to her chest. The house felt wrong. Too large, too quiet, stripped of its heartbeat. She sank to the floor, the legal pages spreading across the tiles like a map of what she'd lost. In the distance, the sound of the car faded. No yelling, no slamming doors, no last look back. Just precision. Just closure. The kind that hurts because it's calm. The courthouse was colder than it looked from the outside. Concrete, glass, no music, no sympathy. Caleb sat in the hallway, pen in hand, final signatures in front of him. He signed once for the house, once for custody, once for freedom. When the clerk handed him the final copy, he didn't feel relief, just certainty. It was finished. He folded the paper, slipped it into his jacket, and walked out into the sunlight. The air smelled clean, different. He hadn't noticed how much weight the sound carried until it was gone. For the first time in months, no one was laughing, posting, or performing. Just wind. Just him. He drove to his mother's house, gravel crunching under tires. Out front, Liam was in the yard with a soccer ball, laughing the way kids do, pure, unaware. Evelyn waved from the porch but didn't come down. She didn't need to. Caleb leaned against the car and watched his son play. No phone in hand. No notebook. Just watching. The laughter this time didn't sting. It lifted. Liam looked up. Dad, watch this. He kicked hard. The ball veered left, bounced off a fence, rolled back. Caleb caught it with one hand. Smiled. Try again, he said. His voice was easy, steady. No sharpness left. He tossed the ball back, watched Liam chase it. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't rehearsing his next move. He wasn't counting words or watching reactions. He was just present. Later, inside, he found the notebook, the same one he'd started the night everything cracked. Most pages were filled. Dates, quotes, witness in ink. He tore out one sheet and kept only the last note he'd written months ago. Forgiveness doesn't require reunion. He folded it carefully, slipped it into his wallet behind his license, and closed the book. The rest he dropped into the fire pit out back. Pages caught fast, orange and curling. The smoke rose clean into the November sky. Evelyn came to the door, voice soft. You're staying? For a while, he said. We're good here. She nodded. You did it right. He watched the paper turn to ash. I didn't do it for right, he said quietly. I did it for quiet. Liam's laughter echoed again from the yard, pure, small, free. Caleb let it settle in his chest, not as a wound this time, but as proof that peace, once earned, doesn't need applause. He stood there until the fire died, hands in his pockets, the smoke trailing upward into a sky that finally looked wide enough for him to breathe.
Subscribe and stay one step ahead of cheaters. And trust me, the next story makes this one look like a fairy tale.